This channel is supported by Truefire.
Well, what is this all about then? It's the Truefire Summer Music Festival. What I'm going to tell you about, you can get 1 month of All Access for just $1. The All Access, you can dip in and out of every single course on Truefire, so that's a really great way to get some awesome courses down you.
Okay, so I got a really cool Instagram message the other day from an amazing player, Josh Meader. If you've not checked out Josh's playing, then you're going to love it. Absolutely insane player, really cool technique and some fairly unique stuff. If you don't know about this, like as he plays like 3-note per string stuff, he picks the first 2 and then hammers on the third. Quite a unique technique that this guy has going on. And anyway, he asked me about what amps in the Helix might be good for a pedal platform. And he showed me a picture of his board, because I was just like, I could do a video on this. And I was like, could I see your board? And it turned out like there was a lot of choices on there which kind of are very similar to the sort of thing I'm into. So there's a Crazy Tubes, Crazy Tube Circuits Venus. There's a J-Rocket the Dude, my favourite drive pedal pretty much. There's an Origin Effects Tube Screamer type. There's a Origin Effects Blues Breaker type. And there was a Keeley Halo. If you're going to actually plug delay into the front of the HX Stomp and you want it stereo, then what you're going to have to do is basically replicate the 2 amps that I've chosen. So I think I'm going to put together like a little folder of this on Gumroad of like pedal platform type presets, because I do think there is definitely something worth trying here. I think you can get some really good results. So anyway, I wanted to break this into like a few sort of different choices that I've made for different reasons. So let's kind of get into it. I use all the time, my kind of safe option is the Litigator. So the preset that I plug into most often is Eric Clean on the 3rd snapshot of it. Now, there are a few things going on with this. Normally I would have the compressor engaged on this, which does solve some of the issues that we'll get into a little bit here, but I turned the compressor down here, off I mean, because obviously you want to kind of get more of the character of the pedals coming through, and if you put a compressor up the front, that kind of sort of makes things sound pretty similar, is what I've found anyway. So compressor up front, yes or no? I would say if you're really going into this like with the pedal platform idea of trying to hear different pedals and their characteristics, then maybe turn that compressor off and just hit the front of the amp. So anyway, the Litigator I think is a fairly safe option. This is based on like a Dumble from the mind of Ben Adrian, or you know, that Fender modded sound from that era. Not really based on anything specific, but kind of like in the digital world what you could do that maybe wouldn't be possible in the real world. I think it's a good safe option. Everything sort of at 12-ish. I drop the drive back a bit, but if you want to get that closer to the edge of breakup, it will do that really well too. But I think it's just a safe round sounding option. For all of these presets, I use the Cali V30 with a Neumann U67 position around 3.9 and adjust the high cut to taste as well, because you're going to get quite a lot of characteristics coming through with that high cut. If you want a really smooth tone, you can roll that off. If you want a bit more bite, then go for that too. If you wanted a load of headroom, I think the Grammatico GSG 100, which John Grammatico built designed, built around Robin Ford's Dumble, and this one has a ton of headroom. In the case where some of you guys might be thinking, like, I want as much headroom as possible. Now, be careful what you wish for with this, because it will really take pedals and you can boost things into insane amounts. The trade-off with that is that actually you'll find for your quieter sections, where you got the pedals off, your actual clean might not be loud enough. So Grammatico GSG 100, huge sounds, takes pedals well, has a big round sound, loads of headroom. So if you're looking for that, I think that is like the peak in the Helix for that. The trade-off, like I say, is that the quieter bits are going to be too quiet. Now, I found an amp in here, the Matchless Channel 1, because it's more Vox based, is a little bit, you know, lower headroom EL84 type amp. If you're looking for something which there's a more of a balance without a compressor between your tones, then I would suggest that's quite a good bet. So you could have, you know, the Matchless Channel 1, gain about halfway up, same cab and everything, but it's actually behaving pretty well in a mix, and I can hear my clean tones with a similar level of volume as I can hear the really driven tones, and as I stack things, there's not a huge increase in volume like there is with the Grammatico. So if you're looking for a well-behaved guitar tone which doesn't have these huge peaks and troughs and that sort of stuff, then I would say the Matchless Channel 1 is a good bet. Kind of side note here as well, because this is sort of Voxy as well, and also I guess the Matchless would have been used in real life by blues players with this sort of thing going on. Anyway, the Derailed Ingrid, Trainwreck based, if you're going for that sort of edge of breakup-y thing, this is quite a kind of out there choice as well, but pretty good one. Let's get into the safer choices now. Obviously, Deluxe Reverb. The normal channel I've not bothered with here because that's what I would use like most of the time. That's got more mids. But also, I would suggest going and checking out the vibrato channel. Get that volume up sort of around sort of 4, 5, 6 is where it starts to get a little bit more of a sort of round sound and get a few more mids in that way. You get quite a lot of bite in this versus the Litigator. It's a bit of a less smooth, slightly more raw. Maybe you get a bit more of the characteristics of the guitar coming through. So the Deluxe Reverb, definitely a great shout. And then I would also say the Fender Bassman is a really good shout. Now this comes from the amps, the bass amps section. This is like a 68, 67 transitional amp, but actually a Fender Bassman from around this era is kind of a staple in the Nashville scene. So I would say that that one is, again, I think a really good bet. didn't want to make this like the longest video ever. Those were just some choices that I think are really good starting points. There are other things that I would have thought would have, you know, also been good starting points, but actually I think this gets you quite a good range of, you know, I want high headroom. Okay, Grammatico GSG, maybe Litigator's fairly high headroom as well if you set that volume or gain going in a bit lower. Do you want something like a bit more middle of the road Fendery? Well, either the Bassman, which has got a bit more balls, or the Deluxe Reverb, which is kind of like just your classic. And then you're thinking, right, I want actually something that's a bit more well behaved. The Matchless Channel 1 is a really good bet for that. And again, like I say, if you're going to want to go in stereo, then you're going to need stereo amps, because anytime in a Helix a stereo signal hits a mono amp, or a mono block in general, but specifically the amp block can only be mono, you're going to get that stereo sound collapsed. So if you were using like a dual delay, like a Strymon or a Keeley Halo stereo delay, then you're going to need to have 2 amps. So Litigator is a really good bet for that as well, because it doesn't take up loads of DSP. So I think those are my choices. Let me know yours in the comments. I'll catch you in another video soon. Cheers to Josh. You're a sick player. If you want these pedal platform presets, then jump into the Gumroad links below, above, wherever they're going to be, and pedal platform presets will be this, and I'll build some more around this and maybe mix and match some of these going forwards.